Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. The first thing we're going to talk about today is this whole situation from just like the last 24 hours where people have been freaking out about this new Gillette ad. And to kind of summarize the ad, it's Gillette moving from their standard slogan of the best a man can get and pivoting it to the best men can be. And one of the ways they promoted this video online was with the caption, "Boys will be boys? Isn't it time we stopped excusing bad behavior? Rethink and take action by joining us at thebestmencanbe.org." And among the things that the ad tries to touch on, you have bullying, fighting not making you strong, sexual assault, objectification of women, catcalling. As you get further into the video, you see other men intervening to stop bad behavior, whether it be with children or their friends. And part of the closing reads, "It's only by challenging ourselves to do more that we can get closer to our best." And this ad was met with mixed responses. You had some, like Micah McKinnon, saying, "Once again, I'm very much okay with the shift in cultural standards. Be a good human is getting ever more commercially viable." Some, like this user's post that just blew up, saying, "This is how you use your brand. This is how you engage with your audience." Gillette being aware of mostly having a male audience and using their influence as a global brand to make a change for the better. Other companies take notes. But then, on the other side of this, you had a completely different reaction with many people taking offense or being incredibly bothered by this ad. You had the likes of Piers Morgan tweeting, "I've used Gillette razors my entire adult life, but this absurd virtue signaling PC guff may drive me away to a company less eager to fuel the current pathetic global assault on masculinity. Let boys be damn boys, let men be damn men." And others also seem to take this as kind of an assault on men, like not just some, but just men in general. Godsod tweeting, "It is grotesque to repeatedly ascribe collective guilt onto half of humanity known as men. Being a man is not a disease nor a pathology." Chuck Woolery tweeting, "I'd like to thank Gillette for reminding me how horrible it is to be man. This should sit well with your customers, not." And there are more and more examples if you just search Gillette on pretty much any social media platform right now. And as far as my response to it, I watched the full ad, which I'll link to down below. And watching it, I'm kind of surprised that it became this big of a deal. I mean, while watching the video down, I could see it as being preachy, being a part of what I personally refer to as wokeonomics, right? Essentially the monetization and some would argue exploitation of acting woke as a company to get more products sold. But I don't personally see this as an attack on all men. And the range of replies was really interesting. I was scrolling through the comments and you had people screaming things like, "I have men in my family that served this country. How dare you?" And I was just reading this like, who is attacking them? Were they bullying? Were they catcalling? Were they sexually harassing someone? No, doesn't seem like it's about them. And understand, in this moment, I'm not like, yeah, Gillette, get them. But I personally just saw this as masculinity can be seen as a different thing, right? Being seen as a father who instills respect in their child. Someone that's not, I mean, to kind of go into specifics, someone that's not like a Piers Morgan, right? You got Piers Morgan out here just randomly attacking women because they're showing their bodies on Instagram, going after Daniel Craig because he's carrying his baby a certain way. You have this guy that's trying to shame this father that's taking care of his kid because he's doing it in a way that some people might see as feminine. Like that's, for me personally, something I see as general insecure douchebaggery. Other people might refer to that as toxic masculinity. But also understand that up to this point, this is me kind of just talking about the general outrage we have seen around this specific situation. Now, as far as making fun of this situation, I say go for it. The fact that we have a razor company trying to instill values into our culture. For example, this morning you had the likes of Ricky Gervais tweeting, "I used to love beating up kids at barbecues. Now I realize that is wrong. Also, my balls have never been smoother. Thanks, Gillette." And people took that as him being against the ad, to which he responded, "Not against it at all. Should I only joke about things I'm against?" Right, because it is a little bit funny. It's like if McDonald's put out an ad and it was like, "Don't hit your kids," and you're like, what? I was just here for the burgers. What do you want about? But I also think this points out kind of a different type of consumer on both parts. You have a lot of consumers that just want the product to be the product. Just, if you're a razor company, just give me razors. Whereas more and more you have a lot of consumers, especially with young people, that they like when a brand stands for something. But then also with a part of this group you need to understand are people that are like, yeah, I like when a company stands for something, but what they're really saying is I like when a company stands for something that I also agree with. It's kind of like with how on my show, a lot of people are like, "Phil, I love the way you tell it like it is." But with around 30% of that group, what they're saying is, "I like when you say it like it is with something that I agree with." Not all, and I would even say a majority of the audience isn't like that, especially the people that have been with me for a while and my opinions have evolved. But hey, that was the story, my personal takeaway, and of course it passed the question off to you. What are your thoughts around this? But that said, it's very possible this whole Gillette situation may just be a smokescreen, a distraction to keep you from the news that once again Netflix is raising their prices. And the price changes are $1 and $2. The $8 plan's going to $9, the $11's going to $13, and the $14 is going to $16. If you're a new customer, this price change is immediate. If you are an existing customer, that will be changing over the next few months. And I will 100% not be unsubscribing. I love my Netflix account. I also think that that's what Netflix and the market are counting on, because as of recording this right now, the stock is up over 6%. And it's also probably due to the fact that if you're changing the price of the subscriptions from $1 to $2, you're talking very likely at least 137 million new dollars every month. And the reason I say at least is because last quarter they had 137 million subscribers. They're expecting to get to 147 million this next quarter. And I just want to use their last quarter numbers in case maybe there are mass unsubscriptions. But still, I mean, even with how big they are, we're in this situation where the whole environment is still evolving. I was probably one of the last of my friends that actually had cable, but now I'm primarily on Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube TV. Oh, and also Amazon Prime, but that was more for the shipping, and then the other stuff's extra. From that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today an awesome brought to you by Midrolls. Or if it was like two of our semi-recent videos, just weird jump cuts. And the first bit of awesome today is if you did not see, which is possible, because like I said, this morning's video, at least for a little bit, was dinged. I uploaded the extra morning news show, which was a deep dive into Nexium, and the content of the video is not awesome. Understand I'm including this here because I think that a good number of people think it's awesome to get more content. Wow, that story, yeah. And also kind of on that note, a big shout out and thank you to Edward Hurst and all you other beautiful bastards supporting us with paid subscriptions over at DeFrancoElite.com. Without y'all, we would just lose some money on these videos. So much love, I appreciate you. Then we got the trailer for Black Earth Rising. We had Dude Perfect giving us Model Rocket Battle 2. Screen Junkies gave us the honest trailer for the new Halloween. Sony Pictures gave us that brand new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, really anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then in industry news, YouTube just made some announcements that, depending on the kind of content you make, this will either not affect you in any way, or this could completely change things. YouTube today announced that they are ramping up enforcement across a few key areas. One, regarding custom thumbnails, they say, selecting a thumbnail that egregiously violate policies containing pornography or graphic violence will now result in a community guideline strike, even if the video does not violate our policies. Then external links, saying specifically adding links to external sites that egregiously violate our policies, pornography, malware, or spam will now result in a community guideline strike. And finally, 3, and this is probably related to some stuff that we've seen in the news recently, dangerous challenges and pranks. Writing reminder, content that encourages violence or dangerous activities that may result in serious physical harm, distress, or death violates our harmful and dangerous policy. Also adding, we've updated our external guidelines to make it clear that we prohibit challenges presenting a risk of serious danger or death, and pranks that make victims believe they're in serious physical danger or cause children to experience severe emotional distress. And so initially, when reading through dangerous challenges and pranks, most people would probably think most recently to Jake Paul driving with a blindfold on. And unfortunately, even in the news, there's been the story of someone crashing their car because they were engaging in this challenge. But that last part, especially about children, affects a lot of people, including people that have posted immensely popular videos. I mean, this ranges from the very obviously, and in my personal opinion, disgusting of just scaring small children, just people dressed up as clowns or monsters, all the way to content that I didn't even initially think could be a problem, like when people went through that trend of tricking small kids into thinking that they were invisible. And that was a trend picked up by a ton of people inspired by a Netflix magician show. I mean, you had everyone from just random people on the street to, I mean, people like David Dobrik, who is a massive creator on this platform. But the good news for Dobrik or anyone else that thinks that maybe they are in the wrong according to these new rules, YouTube announced that they are giving people a grace period. This, they said, to allow time to review the updates and make changes to your content, and adding, in the following 2 months as we ramp up enforcement, content that violates our community guidelines related to custom thumbnails, external links, challenges, and pranks will be removed, but the channel will not receive a strike. But moving forward, if you violate the policies, that will result in a strike. Personally, I do wonder how big of an effect will this have on the platform. And the reason I ask that is because parts of the rules here, I mean, who's defining the line? And for example, specifically, cause children to experience severe emotional distress. Understand, when I personally mention the trend and situation of little kids being tricked into being disappeared, I'm mentioning it here because it has been referenced elsewhere. But for the severe emotional distress, is that just a kid being scared? Is that a kid crying? Does that mean Jimmy Kimmel's "I ate all of your Halloween candy" challenge is now something that breaks the rule? I mean, even the thumbnail appears to show small children in distress. Or is it not because no one's ever died from not getting candy? Or is that, I don't know if that's true. Is it not because there's no chance that the child thinks that they're gonna be in physical harm, they're just very upset, they feel betrayed. And also kind of on that note, will we see situations where people are not treated the same based off of their size? But yeah, that's really the end of the story, and I just want to get it out there. One, for creators out there just to make sure that they are safe. And two, whether you be a creator or a consumer, I'd love to know your thoughts on these changes. And then let's talk about the latest LGBTQ crackdown going on in Chechnya. And if you didn't know, the Russian Republic of Chechnya is known for having a predominantly Muslim and conservative population. And in Chechnya, there has been a new wave of persecution against LGBT people. To backtrack a bit, attacks on the gay community in Chechnya are not new by any means. And if part of this sounds familiar, it's because we actually talked about this on the show back in 2017 when authorities and military officials rounded up more than 100 men they suspected of being gay. Those men were reportedly sent to secret prisons where they were beaten and tortured. Some survivors even claimed they experienced electric shock torture and were forced to turn over other gay friends or partners they had. One anonymous victim told NPR in 2017 that he was kidnapped and kept in a basement for 12 days, saying authorities went through his phone and social media, adding, "They put a black plastic bag over my head and put a gun to my head. They told me I wasn't a human being and deserved to be murdered." Also saying that they forced him to contact someone he was dating, telling him to go to somewhere, and they kidnapped him as well. And as you might remember, Chechen officials denied the allegations at the time, with the region's leader Ramzan Kadyrov saying, "You cannot arrest or repress people who just don't exist in the republic. If such people even existed in Chechnya, law enforcement would not have to worry about them, as their own relatives would have sent them to where they could never return." And despite international condemnation over the human rights violations, the attacks against gays in Chechnya continue. And for months, we saw horrifying stories of people being executed, going missing, dying via honor killings. And so all of that brings us to now. According to the Russian LGBT network, since December, 2 people have been killed and 40 men and women have been detained as part of the latest roundups. In a statement released Monday, the group said 2 detainees died from torture, adding that these detentions are actually being carried out by law enforcement. And the group also believes that this latest wave of persecution was sparked by the arrest of an administrator of a group for LGBT people on the social media network VK. And that's because they believe that once the administrator was detained, authorities accessed his contacts and used that info to start mass detention. Now, this latest report by the LGBT network has not been corroborated by other outlets, but Amnesty International issued a statement on Monday supporting the group's findings. And writing, "With lives in jeopardy, there is an urgent need for an international response." But on the other side of this, you have a government spokesperson dismissing the latest death report as, quote, "complete lies," adding, "If even a single person were arrested, let alone 40, the entire Chechen public would have known. The claim that 2 were killed is even more absurd." And authorities in Chechnya have continued to deny that they are targeting LGBT people by repeatedly claiming once again that Chechnya has no gay population at all. And as far as the Russian LGBT network, they said that they're monitoring the situation in Chechnya and helping victims as much as they can, saying they've relocated around 150 LGBT people who are living in danger, but also adding that it is becoming more and more difficult since police are now seizing detainees' travel documents, with the network saying that local authorities are making every effort to prevent victims from leaving the region or applying to the courts in the future, and specifying that they take away documents, they threaten the victims with criminal proceedings against them or their close ones, and they force them to sign empty forms. And so with this latest wave of crackdowns, LGBT groups are urging people in the area to delete information from their phones, change their numbers, and even destroy their devices. And as far as my personal opinion on this, the last thing that I want to do is to present this story as a he said, she said. There is a reason we're hearing these horror stories, and I tend not to believe people that say things like gay people. Those things don't even exist here, especially when they go full gangster and they're like, because if they did, they'd be killed anyway. We wouldn't even know about it. That's horrifying. That's my personal takeaway and feelings on it, and of course I'd be interested to know yours. And then the last thing I want to talk about today, I cannot properly cover this story because it is happening right as I'm finished filming. British Parliament voted against Theresa May's Brexit plan 432 to 202. And to help you understand how unpopular this deal was, Theresa May is part of the Conservative Party. The Conservatives have 317 seats. So that was a big no, and it was expected to be big. And tomorrow the members of Parliament will have a chance to debate the no confidence vote. And so now, as far as the fallout from this expected failure, that's what we're going to be watching. It's a mess we'll be watching, and a mess that we will be talking about moving forward. And with this story, I did want to pass the question off to you, whether you're in Britain or the EU. I'd love to know your thoughts on what happened with today's vote. Happy, sad, frustrated, lost, over it. And that's where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you like this video, you like our dives into the news, let us know. Hit that like button. Also, if you're new here, you want more, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell to turn on notifications. And also, if you missed and want to catch up with yesterday's Philip DeFranco show or this morning's Extra Morning News show, you can click or tap right there. But with that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.